17 months that the BJP has been in power, still no OROP. Has the BJP deceived our armed forces veterans? Joining us on the talking point tonight, Ajay Prasad, former Secretary of Defence, Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, former DG Infantry, Narendra Vyas is senior leader of the BJP, Jaiveer Shergill is Supreme Court lawyer and spokesperson of the Congress, and we're also joined live from Jantar Mantar by our Associate Editor and Defence Correspondent Pranay Upadhyay, and he has with him Colonel Pushpendra, who is one of the three armed forces veterans who's on a fast unto death. So I'm going to come to you, Pranay, first, and if you can ask Colonel Pushpendra, we've had a representative from the Prime Minister's office come down to Jantar Mantar, have a meeting with the protesting armed forces veterans. Are they in any mood to give up their hunger strike?
Certainly, Colonel Pushpendra, Prime Minister's office has approached you and they wanted you to break the fast. Now, why aren't you breaking your fast?
We were stopped 4 to 5 times before 15th of August, and finally we were told, in case if you don't get the correct results on 15th of August from Red Fort, you too, that is myself and Haldar Major, can go on a indefinite hunger strike till 16th of August. Based on that, on 16th August, myself and Haldar Major Singh have gone an indefinite strike. We had been requested by Major General Satveer Singh to stay away for another 5-6 days, but we are determined and we would like to continue our indefinite strike till death.
But sir, today everybody has urged you to stop this thing and break your fast and at least defer it for 10 days, because the government has also asked 10 days at least a time to negotiate and solve this problem. But isn't it seen as a move of inconfidence in the government's promises?
Shri Narendra Modi, during his rally in Rewari, had promised ex-servicemen that in case his government comes in force, he will, and he had assured us, the entire ex-servicemen who were present there, that he will give OROP within 100 days. Now 1 year, 4 months have passed. We have totally lost that confidence in him, and giving another 10 days, we have given him enough time as far as we are concerned.
So it's a pressure tactic on the government?
It may be, but we would also like to put a pressure on the government.
Right. Certainly, Zakat, they want to have this pressure on the government so that the government fulfills this demand, and this demand is actually 4 decades old.
That's right, and I think Colonel Pushpendra is absolutely right. The Prime Minister, when he was campaigning, Mr. Narendra Modi had said that if he comes to office within 100 days, they would implement OROP. It's been 17 months since May of 2014, and yet, Narendra Vyas, there is still no clarity on when this will be implemented, if this will be implemented, under what formula it will be implemented, what is the definition for OROP. I mean, what is your message to the veterans tonight who are there in Jantar Mantar and who are watching this program, that the BJP used our veterans as a vote bank, and now after coming into office they realize what a complex demand this is?
See, I don't think that anybody in the right sense of mind should use our veterans as the sort of a tool for gathering votes. We respect them, we respect their sacrifices, we respect their role and the commitment with which they have cared and fought for this country. Yes, it is also true that the Prime Minister during the rally said 100 days, and as of now it is 1.5 years that it is not coming through. I do agree the sentiments which Colonel Pushpendra Singh, with which he was talking, the kind of feelings which our veterans and the armed forces people are having, I do agree that they are justified fully for having these kind of feelings within themselves. At the same time, I would say that the Prime Minister himself has no time, and this government of Bharatiya Janata Party sitting in Delhi has no time, ever has tried to wriggle out of the commitment. All they have done is they have gone further in sort of working out a solution of the commitment they have made.
No,
You know,
but
so
Mr.
it
Vyas,
it
what is the
not that
delay?
the government
What
has
is
no
causing
intention or
this
the government
delay?
was trying to.
No, 1 second. What is causing this delay? If this is a money issue, okay, and
So
I understand. One second. If this is a money issue, first of all, you can't be bargaining with our veterans. I don't think that is the right thing to do. Number two, 8,298 crores. That is the formula that's been worked out. And as per that formula, 8,298 crores is required to implement OROP. Today, the Prime Minister was in Bihar and he announced a package of 1,25,000 crores. You just need 1/10, less than 1/10 of that money to implement OROP.
Well, you yourself explained the entire mathematics involved in this whole affair. So I am not trying to take a shelter under what you have said and ultimately what kind of burden it will be as far as the government exchequer is concerned, armed forces vis-a-vis the other government staff. I don't want to make it a point for justification. They need to be given, the commitment is there and they shall be given. The Prime Minister of India, from not lesser than ramparts of the Red Fort on 15th August, standing just before the tricolor, has himself said that it will take now sooner, it will be sooner than the later, and we are committed and we shall come with the solution of this. So I don't think anybody would say that Prime Minister is not willing to go ahead with this.
No,
and when the
he will be held to his word. He will be held to his word by no less than the protesting armed forces veterans. We will get more voices into this debate. Ajay Prasad is former Secretary of Defense, and I keep going back to this whole money argument, which seems a little farcical to me, that you can't sanction 8,200 crores when you've just sanctioned 1.25 lakh crores as a special package for Bihar. The veterans are saying that, look, this is not just about the money. They are now suspecting, and I'm reading from the letter that 10 service chiefs, former service chiefs, have written to the Prime Minister yesterday. They have said, and I quote, the often quoted technical difficulties are never explained. What are these technical difficulties? Nobody really knows. This is just to change the goalpost. This is to dilute the protest. Do you fear that the veterans feel that the government is now changing the goalpost? There's no mutually accepted definition of what OROP is. There is no mutually accepted starting date, whether it should be 1st of April 2014 or whether it should be 1st of January 2015, all of which leads the defense veterans to believe that the government, it's not just about the money, that they want to change the very nature of OROP. Is that a fair assessment on their part?
So Jacob, what I would say in this regard is that it is true that the Ministry of Defense had formulated a proposal for OROP, which is roughly 8,300 crores.
Okay.
And the Finance Ministry has been examining it for some time, and they are coming up with different interpretations. That has what been said. Mr. Jaiveer said some time back that there is some arithmetics that are involved in this process. Now, my point of view is very simple here, that the time for this kind of examination is long past. A commitment has been made in the Parliament that OROP's definition has been finalized there, and an announcement has been made both by the UPA government earlier and now by the present government, no less than the Prime Minister on repeated occasions. So time for whether you are going to push back the date of implementation, whether it's 2014 or 15 or the nominated date should be 2011. I think this is now a matter of detail, and it doesn't behove either the government or the finance ministry to go into this at this quickly.
So why then? One second, if I may just press that point. Why then this delay? Why then this waffling? A large number of veterans voted for the BJP, buying into this promise that OROP will be implemented. I mean, it's a sad scene to be seeing our veterans fasting unto death, some of them being manhandled by the Delhi police, although the Delhi police has now put out an apology for that. Why would any government want to be at the receiving end of their anger?
No, it is a terribly distressing situation to see our veterans sitting in agitation and being on hunger strike. It doesn't reflect any credit on anybody in the government, so that this situation should come to such a pass. Now, what I fear that it's not the financial thing, whether it's to 8,300 crores or something. That's not sum which is going to break anybody's back. But I think what is the inherent fear that, and I'm not saying it is justified, but inherent fear seems to be that this is going to lead to similar demands coming from paramilitary forces, from other areas. I don't think that is a fear which is valid. A commitment has been made to the veterans, and it should be honored now at the earliest. And I think the sooner this distressing spectacle of veterans sitting in agitation is over and done with, it will bring credit to this government.
You know, Lieutenant Shankar Prasad, this is what not just folks in television studios, but also people around the country, including the veterans themselves, are trying to wrap their heads around. If it's not about the money, 8,200 crores is not that big a sum of money. If it's not about a definition of OROP, which seems to have been accepted, if it's not about the dates from which the calculations should start, then what is holding this government back? Because one can't seem to find what excuse or what fear the government has in announcing this and implementing this in toto.
I fear, and I feel very sad to say what I'm going to say. We all have great respect and regard for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's one of the finest Prime Ministers and statesmen this country has ever had. I do not understand for the life of me what are those forces which are preventing him from doing what he wants to do, what he is committed to do. 100 times he said that. The other day from the ramparts of Red Fort he said, "Main kar nahi pa raha hoon." What a hopeless situation he is presenting. What a helpless situation he is presenting. I fear there are some powers within his government, whether they're political colleagues, whether there is cabinet colleagues, whether it's the administrators or the accountants or anybody else. There is somebody who's going and telling him things which is making him helpless. He is determined to give it. He wants to give it. He announces such great plans from Abu Dhabi and
That's
Dubai.
right. That's
he talks
right.
of all kinds of promises being made. Now here is a situation where, and you know, one point, you see, all what these people are saying is that okay, OROP will be given, everything is fine. Please give us a date. Why can't the Prime Minister say it will be 2nd of October, it will be 25th of December, Christmas Day, it will be New Year's Day, it will be 31st of March 16. If it doesn't happen on that day, my government shall resign. But he is not able to say that also. If it is arithmetic, if it is talks, can he not, as the boss of this government, tell his administrators that I have given a word to these people that by so and so date it will be announced, you please get your maths or whatever else to be done to be in order. After that, if you're not able to do, I am going to sack you. He is known for being a hard taskmaster.
Absolutely.
What is that force?
Absolutely.
Is it some foreign force to want to... No, I want to bring in a very dangerous angle. Is it a force that wants to weaken the armed forces? Is it a force that is trying to do anti-national activity against us in an indirect manner? What are we trying to do? These people who are sitting there and dying today, whose clothes are being torn, their children are sitting on line of control today, boss. Their children are commanding battalions, brigades and colonels and majors and havaldars and JCOs.
And
what are they watching today?
And are you worried? Are you worried, General Prasad? Are you worried, General Prasad? Because, you know, there are stories doing the rounds, right? I mean, look, like you said, if there's a Jawan at the border, and you know, what sort of message does this send out to him? There are stories doing the rounds, certainly in the media, about how morale is low, about how there are serving senior officers who've contributed to the retired armed forces officers who are on this fast done to death.
See, today,
what sort of message does this send out to them?
We must hit the nail on the head. Today we must hit the nail on the head. A very large number of people are protesting there, and it is very well known fact that the children of all our JCOs, NCOs and officers, the bulk of the cadre in the military today are their children, their grandchildren. And everybody is watching television, everybody is reading newspapers, doesn't matter where he's sitting in Kashmir or Northeast. He's watching this. He's watching what is happening to his elders, to his fathers, uncles, chachas, mamas, tayas. What is going on in his mind? He's fighting insurgency. Every day there is ceasefire violation. Every day there is ambushes. People are getting killed. What is going on in his mind? Look at my parents, look at my chacha, mama, taya, what's going to happen to them? What are, their medals are being pulled and turned short, torn. What is this going on? See, the only last point which I wish to make is, why is that power so overwhelmingly denying Prime Minister Narendra Modi the authority to implement it?
And we don't know what that power is. We don't know what that power is. I mean, we don't know if it's a calculation issue, if it's a lack of resources issue, if it's a cabinet colleague. We don't know what that is.
No, it is no resource issue. So every politician said, including the finance minister, money is not an issue. But what is the issue?
Yeah.
Nobody seems to know that.
I agree with you.
This,
I mean,
that
what is worse?
The money is not an issue. Then is this political? Is this political colleagues doing this? Is this the bureaucracy or the administrators doing this? And why is he so helpless? He's such a powerful man. We all respect him for his power.
What is worse, General Prasad, if I may add, is, you know, worse than not implementing this promise, and a promise he's made 100 times on the campaign trail, is not coming out clearly, for a master of communication, not coming out clearly. Anybody in this government, whether it's the Prime Minister, the Defence Minister, the Finance Minister, or anyone in this government, coming out and telling clearly what the problem is. Is it a resource issue? Is it a calculation issue? Is it a cabinet colleague issue? Is it, like General Prasad said, and I fear for this, is it some vested interests that are working to undermine the morale of the forces? I don't know. Nobody knows, and nobody is clarifying that.
I don't know myself.
Jaiveer, Shergill.
I don't know myself.
Jaiveer, Shergill.
I hate to believe all of this.
Yeah, one of the other problems is that OROP has become entangled in this web of politics. Opposition politicians, including Rahul Gandhi, have found this a convenient sort of stick to beat the government with. And while nobody is denying the opposition's right to do that, why would you want to fire from the shoulders of our veterans, old people who are only asking what is duly legitimate to them, at a time when the Congress in the last budget of the UPA allocated what, 500 crores for this? I mean, what's 500 crores? Really?
Jacob, I want to make 3-4 points and just allow me under a minute. Number one, I want to make my argument on a dimmer and conceding. Let me be very candid. The entire political class is guilty of this delay in OROP. This demand has been there for 30 years. Nobody can dispute that. But ultimately, it is the Congress party. Yes, agree, there was a delay, which approved it finally. Now, what is happening today, and you put it very aptly. Today, the Bharatiya Janata Party has politically capitalized on the promise of OROP. Now, with due respect to the Honorable Prime Minister, he ought to have been, should have been aware of the mathematical calculation when he was speaking at Rewari, where Mr. V.K. Singh, fellow army men, debuted with him. Can he hide behind the veil of mathematical calculations? This is called misrepresentation, that you lure somebody for votes and later surprise them. Now, what is happening today? OROP has become a victim of adjournments at the behest of BJP, and that's why the soldiers are angry. You will know, in June, first surprise was thrown. We don't agree with definition of OROP in Khoshar committee report. July, Mr. V.K. Singh says soon. 1st February 2015, Mr. Parikar says by the end of April it will be implemented. Now, soldiers are reasonable people. They are respected people. You give them, as General Prasad said, you give them a definitive deadline. This promise cannot ping pong or mainly remain a political handle which is swung at election rallies or Independence Day speeches. Now, where is the shoe pinching today? Okay, you say Mr. Rahul Gandhi went there, it is a political issue. Reminding government of its promise, if it's politics, yes, we are doing politics. People might say Rahul Gandhi went there for photo op. Yes, somebody has to go there to show solidarity with the soldiers. Where is Mr. Parikar? Where is Mr. V.K. Singh? Where is K.C. Banduri? Where is Mr. Rathore?
Why didn't you, if you were so serious about OROP, allocate the required resources to implement this? The Congress party was in power for 10 years. OROP is a long-standing demand. It's a demand from the 1970s.
The answer is this, Jacob. Firstly, this was an earmark fund to start OROP. Secondly, it was only for an interim period of 3 months. As the new government will come at, whether it was Congress or BJP, nobody knew that time. So it was only a period, if it is approved, implemented during that time to cover those expenses for 3 months. That is why Congress party allocated 500 crores, but it ultimately approved it.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to both
tomorrow
Pranay
when you
and
stood in Rewari.
Tomorrow, I'm going to go back to both Pranay and to Colonel Pushpendra. Colonel Pushpendra, what is it that you want now from the government? Do you want a solid assurance from this government that on this date, we will start implementing this, and that the amount that is required for it, whether it's 8,200 crores, whether it's 10,000 crores, whether it's 50,000 crores, we have approved. The government of India has approved it, and it will start from this date. Do you want that in writing from this government, and anything short of that is not acceptable to you?
Colonel Pushpendra, what exactly is your precondition or the rock bottom for you that government should specify the thing? What exactly you are expecting, and what will make you break your fast?
We will only break our fast once the government give us a letter of sanction of OROP. Only then we will break our fast to death. Otherwise, we will not break our fast on to death. This is our last words.
So you have heard him, but Zaka, I would like to make a point here that actually how did it start? It started with the Prime Minister on 31st of May 2015 in his Mann Ki Baat, when the Prime Minister himself said this thing, that this issue is complicated and we need some time to do. Till then, things were moving ahead and no soldiers didn't hit the street. But that made a soldier hit the street, and started the entire agitation. And you know, when Prime Minister visited Siachen, he used the word, and there's a PIB release on that thing, that OROP has been implemented. And after that, Prime Minister says on 31st of May that it is a complicated issue and we need time to resolve this issue. So actually this entire problem was initiated by these things. And one more point, that what problem government is telling us is actually formulating a formula for the annual revision of this pension. Because the very concept of one rank, one pension says that in perpetuity, they have to pass on all the pensionary benefits to the past pensioner also. And that is a problem which the Finance Minister in his meeting with the representative of these ex-servicemen have expressed concerns about.
Narendra, I mean, here's the thing. When Mr. Modi was campaigning, he said, give me 100 days and I will implement OROP. Like Pranay said, he goes to Siachen, the PIB puts out a press release saying OROP is already implemented. It's only in May this year, in his Mann Ki Baat, that the Prime Minister says, look, this is a complicated issue. I wasn't aware of how complicated it was till I came to office. And that's when the soldiers started hitting the streets. Constantly, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, constantly, as a neutral observer watching this, the impression that one goes away with is that the government is constantly changing the goalpost.
Raka, I don't think there is any intention of changing the goalpost. Yes, there is some hitch, which since you and I are not privy to it, perhaps may not know. But when the Prime Minister himself in a very, very candid voice, very, very candid commitment from the Red Fort, himself has said that it will come sooner than the later. I stand committed to it, means he stands committed to it without ifs and buts.
No,
so
then what are those ifs and buts? Shouldn't the Prime Minister... No, you are not privy to it, I am not privy to it, the veterans themselves are not privy to it, I don't think anybody is privy to it. And my question is that, shouldn't the Prime Minister or anybody in this government, the Defence Minister, the Finance Minister, somebody come out and say, what is holding this thing up?
Well, I don't think it will have any meaning. The correct thing is to come out and say, here is the letter. I think that's the way it should have been done.
So no clarification.
There is no point
but veterans are fasting on to death. No clarification. But Delhi police can rough them up. No clarification. But you basically left them to fend for themselves. I mean, I find that very, very stark coming from a government that prides itself on communication and clarity of thought. But I'm going to give final closing comments to Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad. Are you still hopeful, General Prasad, that at some point, hopefully, I mean, the word is that the Prime Minister's office has asked the veterans to de-escalate their protest till the 23rd, 24th, and hopefully by the 23rd, 24th, we will have some form of resolution. Are you still hopeful that OROP,
Yes.
without shortchanging our veterans, will be
Yes.
implemented in toto by this government?
Yes, I am very hopeful. I have full faith in Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I am only waiting for that moment, for the day when he will come out and tell these guys who are preventing it from happening, you guys get lost. This is being done today. You give me the file or not, I am issuing a government order. I am the Prime Minister of India. Go and implement it. This is what I think of Narendra Modi. This is what I feel about him. And I hope that my feelings are not wrong, and my assessment is not wrong about this great leader of India. He
Okay.
needs to sign that letter today.
For the interest of our Defence Forces personnel, we hope that that trust is not misplaced, and we would love to have you back on the show next week. 23rd, 24th is not too far away. We will hold the government to its word. It's a word that was given by the Prime Minister on a number of occasions in the campaign trail and also post coming into office. But I want to thank all of you gentlemen for joining us. General Shankar Prasad, Ajay Prasad, Nripendra, Vyas, Jaiveer, Shergill, as well as the protesting soldier there out at Jantar Mantar, Colonel Pushpendra. We are with you. I want to send that message across to Colonel Pushpendra and all his fighting colleagues that we are with you. The country stands by you. We will not let this fight of yours go in vain. We will continue to highlight this issue so that the people in the corridors of power listen to our protesting armed forces veterans. I'm going to take a break here in the program. When we come back, we'll have all the other stories that have made the headlines this Tuesday.